more experienced and
Old guys.
I mean, I wouldn't say old guys, but
I mean, compared to you.
yeah. Well,
From
I
your
was,
perception,
I was 14.
They were old at that point.
Okay, I mean, compared to
From your perception.
yeah, of course they were old. I mean, like, Godena was like pretty close to my parents' age. Okay, this is a long time ago now.
Yeah.
He wasn't that old. He was probably like his
50s maybe. Yeah. 40s. Late 40s maybe.
yeah. I would say when I first started playing, probably in his 40s. Anyway, so this is the Metropa Cup. It's not usually countries don't send their best players, but sometimes they do. A lot of countries, like for example Germany, they might send a youth team, or Hungary, they might send a youth team because this is not like the Olympiad. It's a little bit, a little bit less prestigious, I guess. So anyway, it's held in Slovakia, and then I watched this video, and it was a story about things. I'm not going to say any names because I actually don't know any names of any of the players, but like some guys from the Slovak team, they broke into the room first of two women from Slovakia,
Also from
and then later in the night from two women from Hungary, because they had a key which they used for the like team meeting a week before, and it somehow still functioned for the room. So somehow the key, so they were able to break in to not their own room because a week before. So I thought that hotels cancel keys after a while, but okay.
I guess not.
And then they were like,
That's really bad.
according to the video, they were drunk and refused to leave, and then police were called. And then the captains complained, of course, and eventually, but not immediately, they were removed from the tournament.
Yeah. Which is kind of crazy.
And I don't know, but yeah, it's like a bizarre story, and
So strange. So strange what's happening nowadays in the chess world, with all these alleged situations. But yeah, that's pretty bad. Obviously, those guys, if found that they actually did that, which probably, since there's a lot of people talking about it, they probably did it. They should be awesome. It's bad. Don't do that. Why do people do that? Strange situation, and obviously there's an even not really an even stranger situation, but there is another situation with David Navarra, who was on one of Vladimir's lists of questions, and Vladimir obviously reacting to that. A lot of lawsuits are being prepared. Fabio, are you ready to be a part of a lawsuit?
not really.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Obviously, seems like Navarra, at least in his letter,
I mean, I
mentioned
think
his mental health problems due to that.
Yeah, it was a very heartfelt letter. I mean, like my first instinct was, compassion, right?
Of course,
I mean, still,
yeah.
of course, right?
Yeah.
And I read through the entire he wrote a blog post or article on chess.com, one of those, right, which basically started with a tweet of Kramnik, which contained a list. The tweet contained a list of players, of which Navarro was third on the list, and there were a lot of names, and this obviously upset him a lot to be on this list, which he felt insinuated cheating or could be construed as cheating, and sent in complaints to FIDE, and eventually came out with this letter, and I sympathize, but also from the initial thing, I don't think that he was at all the target.
He wasn't. No, I don't think he was.
I don't think that this list of players by Kramnik was meant to say that I think Navarro is cheating. That's my interpretation. And also, I don't think anyone ever thought that he would or did.
I would say Navarro is one of the names that if you ask me to pick from a list of, let's say, top 50 players in the world, I will never pick him. Like, he would be probably one of the last ones to pick as a potential cheater. Like, the guy is so pure.
No, I mean, you would never think that. And that wasn't at all my, I think this went back a while, right before it got kind of reignited. And I think at the time, although you saw his name on the list, you didn't like. At least for me, it wasn't like
brush it off.
no. But I had this feeling that basically these lists, which are not even, which are kind of compiled by some other guy, Mike Kagansky, right? And then Kremnik kind of
It's kind of a team. Yes, it's
yeah,
a team
they're-
effort.
they do kind of
Operate together. Yes, like
Yeah,
Kagansky tweets and
Kremnik, and then Kremnik will
retweets.
like, or in this case, he just like copied the list and put it on his tweet, and it felt like they were kind of, it was definitely insinuating something. From my perception of it, it was like saying some of these people were suspicious, but I didn't think that it was saying Navarro was suspicious. That because it also had, for example, Magnus on the list, and I've also been on like some of his lists, and my interpretation always has been that they're kind of players that he uses as a measurement baseline, and then players that you should probably direct your attention towards. That was my feeling. And then also some of the names were highlighted in red. So I don't know. I mean, and Navarro's name was not one of the ones highlighted in red. And like for people who don't know who
Those
Navarro
are
is,
extra questions.
Nice.
the red ones. Like Navarro is a peak 2740 player. I think that might be exact, or roughly 2740. So he's been a top player, and he's still around 26, maybe 70 or so. Maybe, I might be.
We got
off on
50
that.
pro. Nice.
His ceiling is high. His ceiling, whenever he's in good shape, is very high.
Yeah, he's still one of like the top, let's say, 70,
Yeah.
60,
Works a
70,
lot.
some around that. And so although I understood, we had this like also with Misha at some point.
Misha was somewhat accused, yeah? Or like
Well, yeah, it was like, and then I basically wrote that because I knew that he would never cheat, right? So when his name was mentioned, and in a way which I think was kind of saying like he's suspicious, then I wrote on Twitter to Crowd like there's absolutely zero chance.
yeah.
There's just zero chance.
This was because Misha had this huge ass watch.
Okay, yeah, he had a big watch.
Like this was
But I just
this was
said,
a big G-Shock, yeah? Huge.
but then like with this one, I didn't really feel like at all that you were supposed to be looking at Navarro's name on the list. I think that it was more directed at other people because also Magnus's name was on the list, and I've also been on these. Like sometimes he'll have a list like it's I don't know, Grishuk, Maxime, me, and then the
Correct.
one-liners. And